Yeah,
New Brunswick, right? Somewhere down there.
just
But
north of that. Yeah, my wife's from New Brunswick, which, well, okay. Technically that's north of where I'm from, but if you take any of the roads, it's farther south. Yeah. We had that long discussion when we first started dating.
so I went to Madison High School, which is between Summit and Morristown.
Okay.
And I also, from 18 months through second grade, was in Berkeley Heights, which is also close to Summit. Very much New York suburbs.
Yeah, we played
Hi,
some.
everybody. This is HCAM. We're all set to go.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
By the way, Ron, hello. I didn't mean to leave you out. You have any New Jersey connections, Ron? I think you're muted, but that looks like a no on your head.
It's not looking good for me.
Well, I don't, is Nick? Nick is not a committee member, I don't think,
No, he's not.
nor is Matt. So we're at 4 right now, Matthew.
All right.
Just to let you know, Ron, Matthew and I have Muffin House treats on the line here in a bet for attendance. Oh, wait a minute. Arnold's here.
All right.
There's 5.
Hello, here I am.
Hi, Arnold. It's good to see you. We'll wait just a couple more minutes to see if the bet is settled. I guess we didn't make a provision. If the meeting starts and then we go into my zone, do I win, or is it the number at the start of the meeting?
I think it's the number at which we get quorum.
It's kind of a heads I win, tails you lose situation.
I'm good at those. We'll give you a few minutes past.
All right.
Let's see what we got.
Well, how about I begin to read the script and we can do some less interesting business first, and we'll see if anyone shows up. If we are into our first legitimate agenda item and we have 5, you win. How's that sound?
I'll go with that.
I'm talking about the ADU discussion. All right, I'm going to get us started reading the script. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, this meeting will be conducted via remote means in accordance with applicable law. This means that the members of the public body, as well as the members of the public, may access this meeting via virtual means. Participants may access this meeting through the remote meeting link as posted on the meeting agenda and through the town's online calendar. When required by law or allowed by the chair, persons wishing to provide public comment or otherwise participate in the meeting may do so by raising their hand or otherwise signaling their intent to speak. This meeting will be recorded. Please take care to mute your microphone unless you have been recognized by the chair. We will now confirm attendance of members. Please respond with present if you are on this call. Matthew Vronka.
Present.
Ron Foisey.
Present.
Arnold Cohen.
Present.
Khwaja Ahsan.
Present.
I'm sorry, Khwaja, I mispronounced your name.
That's okay. Thank you. Present.
And I don't see any other committee members right now. And I am Ted Barker Hook, chair of the Zoning Advisory Committee. And one more attendance, Aniri Patel, the principal planner.
Present.
Great. We do have 5, so we have enough for a quorum to begin the meeting. We will start, as I often like to start, and knock off some minutes. We've had them sitting on our desk for a while, the minutes of September 15th and September 29th. Does anybody have any corrections or amendments to the minutes? There, Matthew.
I'd like to give you as much time as possible here, Ted. I would propose for September 29th, expanding TBH to Ted Barker Hook each time it's there, and also the first time ADU is mentioned, expanding it to accessory dwelling units and putting ADU in parentheses.
Is there anyone who has a complaint about that?
Nope.
You know, it's funny. I saw the TBH at school. The kids, other teachers, parents call me TBH. And it struck me that I was TBH in the minutes and nobody else was initialed. I'm accustomed to TBH, but I have no trouble with that correction as well. Okay, with those amendments, any other amendments or adjustments or corrections?
Like to make a motion to approve the minutes of September 15th and 29th as amended.
Great. Can we get a second to that?
Second.
All right, let's do a roll call vote. Matthew Vranka,
Yes.
Ron Foisey,
Yes.
Khwaja Hassan,
Yes.
Arnold Cohen,
Yes.
and Ted Barker Hook is also a yes. We can put that agenda item aside, and I owe Matthew a muffin. All right, so here we go to our first
Chair,
bigger agenda. What?
sorry to interrupt. Did you approve both the minutes, September 15 and 29?
That's how I understood the motion.
Okay.
Yes.
Just making sure.
It looks like, Ron, you're agreeing that that was your motion. Okay, great. So our first media agenda item is a discussion on the accessory dwelling unit lot dimensions. I will get the ball rolling with a reminder, at least what I understood the proposal to be from a member of the public. I will offer a slew of thoughts and then open up to discussion if that works for the committee members. We got a proposal from the public to move from the 900 square foot maximum size, which the Commonwealth has stipulated is a by right size that is allowed. The proposal was moved from 900 feet to 33% bigger at 1,200 square foot by right ADU. And also the proposal was to eliminate the up to 50% of gross floor area, whichever is smaller, I believe is the way the ADU is written currently. The hope is, I think, several. It seems to me there's 4 reasons for ADUs and changing the lot size. One is to provide more affordable or attainable housing in Hopkinton. Some of that is to keep empty nesters in town to allow parents to move into a smaller dwelling or perhaps allow their kids to have a first dwelling in an ADU. We have in the past talked about ADUs as possible help for health aides on the property for some of the more elderly citizens. And then I think that it's, while it is not the goal of the state, I think that another reason to have ADUs is allow homeowners an additional stream of income if they choose to add an ADU, since now there are no regulations that residents in the primary or accessory unit be family members, family related, or owners of the property at all. It allows potential landlord possibilities. So it seems to me those are the reasons to expand. And the state's stated purpose is to add more affordable, attainable housing to the state. We are strapped. By the way, welcome, Steve. If you want to chip in on Matthew's muffin, I'll take the money.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So in thinking this through, I did say to you guys before that I've been on the zoning advisory committee for a while, and we've talked about ADUs several times, and I've been of different minds as we've gone through it. I have gotten much more sympathetic to the affordable housing argument than I used to be. And so that certainly, to me, is worthy of consideration, and I think the state's goal is admirable in creating more affordable housing. The question is, should we allow a larger house by right? Should we eliminate the 50% and allow whatever, or up to 1,200 feet or bigger than 50% by right? And I think that's part of the key, is what do we allow by right? I did a little bit of research and I looked at 10 towns around us, most of which I think are similar to us. I would put in a basket of the kind of town that we have. And here's what I found. Of the 10, 9 have stuck to the 900 foot or 50% guideline that the state is, or bylaw that the state has given us. Those are Southborough, Ashland, Holliston, Dover, Upton, Grafton, Shrewsbury, Sherburne, and I even went to Framingham, even though I don't think they're quite the same kind of town that we are. The one town that is allowed larger than 900 square feet is Westboro. They're at 1,000 square feet by right for their ADUs. And all of them say, or 50%, whichever is smaller. A couple other things, Southborough, Ashland, Westboro, Upton, Grafton, Shrewsbury, Sherburne, and Framingham all have within their town bylaws no short-term, oh no, I take it back. Holliston, Dover have no language preventing short-term rentals. All of the other towns have language that prevent essentially turning an ADU into an Airbnb or a Vrbo. We, as far as my reading is, we have no language about short-term rentals now. And as long as we're discussing these other issues, I thought that might be something we want to take a look at. A couple other things for context. The house that I'm living in right now, when we purchased and when we had 2 adults and 2 children living in it, was 1,100 square feet. I am on Grove Street. I can see the water towers from my house. And I don't think anyone would look at it and say that that is, I don't know, a clubhouse or a house that's too small for a family with children even, let alone 2 adults. My mother-in-law lives in the senior housing down over by the senior center and by the police station. Those are, by my estimate, about 500 square feet. Just to give a sense, I'm not very good at picturing what 900 square feet is or what 1,200 square feet looks like. My house is now larger than 1,200 feet. We had a pretty substantial 1-room addition put on, and we added a bedroom upstairs. I don't know exactly where we are now, but when our kids became teenagers and beyond, we thought we needed a little more room. I wonder, Aniri, I don't know, I like that you are hosting this Zoom meeting, but I looked up really quickly, and I just want to share a video, again, to put square feet into some context. This happens to be one of the first ones I found. This is a cabin in Vermont, I think, a small house that is 800 square feet. So let me see if I can pull that up. I haven't done this since COVID times when I taught on Zoom constantly. So let me see if I can pull this off. Sharing is not turned on. Oh, excuse me. Send request to share. Okay. Now I want to press share. I want to press share. Can you see my Zoom screen?
Yes.
Okay. So here is, it's some realtor, I think. I'm not interested in you buying the house, but this was helpful to me to see what an 800 square foot house might look like. And I thought it might be helpful to some of you. So we'll just let this play a little bit. You're going to get a little house tour. I think in the middle, there's an ad for something, and I'll fast forward through it. So just humor me for maybe 4 minutes.
Just right here, cool wood slats, and then this door has a screen door. This just makes it feel like home, if you ask me. I've never seen an Airbnb with a screen door. So we'll open that up and we'll walk inside. Inside, this is about 800-ish square feet of living space, and there's 2 beds and 1 full bathroom in here. Immediately, we're in this little small foyer area, and you can hang your clothes here. There's a small bench. They leave your towels for the hot tub right here as well. Then you can kind of walk around this corner and enter into your main living space. This is all open, your kitchen, your living room. I'm loving the exposed ceilings with the beams going across. The wood design in here just makes it very cozy. That's why they named it the Cozy Rock Cabin. And I couldn't agree more. I love all the color and texture around in here. The windows, there's a bunch of skylight.
All right, I'm going to fast forward a little so that we can see bathroom and bedroom. Maybe a better look at the kitchen, but I think you get the idea there. Here's this guy. Here's where he tells us to go eat somewhere in town. So we'll skip that. Okay, so here's a bathroom in the 800 square foot house.
Dog bowl right here. If you do decide to bring your dog. Anyway, we'll walk through the bathroom now. And this is a large bathroom space. My favorite feature, though, is the heated floor. set at 75 degrees. It comes on automatically for you, and you'll never have cold feet. And this kind of heats the side. Full tiled shower with a glass door, and then your toilet kind of tucked away behind the shower. There's even room for a bench to kind of sit at.
Let me just find a bedroom and then my tour will be done.
Oh, it's multiple story.
To the back half of this cabin, which is where your beds are at. In here, very large room, open ceilings right here, desk on this left side to work at, set your stuff at, whatever you need a desk for, and then continuing down this bottom floor is your king size bed. Right here in the middle, windows on this right side, and above it, they have lights on both sides of this bed as well. And a
So we can go upstairs. Whoops.
case taking up this entire wall. They even organize the books by color, and there's a window in the middle. There's 2 skylights up here, windows by the bed. The natural lighting is just amazing here.
And that's all. Unless anyone wants to see any other part of that, I will stop sharing. So I offer that only because I wanted context for what 800 square feet is, 900 square feet is. I don't know if you can picture the houses that are near just before you get to the middle school. But again, that's the neighborhood I live in. My house was about 1,100 square feet before the addition. So finally, my final thoughts, and then I promise I will be quiet and I would love to just have a conversation. What I see is obviously, if we do get new ADUs built in town, that will increase our housing stock, and it will hopefully provide, I'll put aside even affordable, attainable for a second. More homes means lower prices. That's, I teach basic economics at school. More homes is more supply lowers prices. Probably if they were smallish homes, they would be closer to the attainable side, if not affordable. And again, that would work well for first-time home livers. I'm a little unclear if these would be houses for purchase or only for rental. It seems to me they're only rental because we're not subdividing lots and stuff like that. So somebody would be renting them to someone else. But anyway, first-time families would have more of a chance. And again, empty nesters looking to downsize could hopefully stay in the town that they hopefully still love. The con, I could see potential, especially if we allow bigger homes, significant change to neighborhood feels, to the feel of neighborhoods for what other homeowners thought they were buying into. And I think that could create some frustration. And along the same line, we do allow ADUs right now with the new law from the Commonwealth with many, 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 many fewer restrictions. So that's already been achieved. The question is, do we want to allow larger ADUs? And that's my own hesitation, is the by right part of that. To allow a larger home by right, I feel like maybe might be a dangerous step. I didn't see in the language, but maybe Neri, you could help. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I don't understand the bylaw well enough. I did not see language that allowed a larger ADU by special permit, but maybe that's understood to always be true, but maybe not. If we wanted to allow larger ADUs, and if we needed language for a special permit, that's another route for us to take if we wanted to do that. So those were my thoughts, having put in a few hours and a little bit of research. I laid a lot on your tables. I would love to have a discussion, and I would love to make it as easy as possible. As long as we don't talk over everyone, I don't feel a need for through the chair. So I open the floor. Go ahead, Ron, why don't you get us started?
All right, thank you. I think there are a couple of considerations for having this discussion. I appreciate you taking the lead, Ted. That was a great open. And I think that Hopkinton is unique and has in the past, in many matters, taken the lead instead of following what other towns around us are doing. And I think that the character of the town over the last 20 years has changed dramatically in terms of the size and the dimensions of the residences that are in town. And so, the first thing is a statewide standard that applies to Dorchester or Roxbury or Jamaica Plain be the same standard that we apply to Hopkinton? I just think it's a good thing to have that discussion. And I totally agree with the economic aspect. The more supply that we bring into town, it's going to have a positive effect on the price of rental units in the area or availability of housing in the area. And the last thing, and I don't have data to support this, but I've been having conversations with people that are wondering, once all of our new schools are up and running, there is some concern that the population may not continue to grow the way that it's projected to, and we could use more kids in the school systems to keep them up at running at capacity. But that's certainly something that we could talk with the school department about at some point to try to get an update on that particular situation. But our neighborhood changed over the last couple of years with 4,500 square foot homes going up in a neighborhood where 1,500, 2,000 square foot homes. And, if they spend $2 million for their house and they want to build a carriage house in the back for their relatives to come and spend 6 months living there, they're probably not going to be as comfortable in a 900 square foot unit when they're accustomed to a much more grandiose living. So it's just, economic diversity is a great thing. I don't think affordable in this part of Middlesex County is going to be a dream that we're going to achieve in my lifetime. But attainability is something that I think we should go for, and giving people more options, I think, increases the likelihood that it will take effect.
Someone want to jump in? Steve, I saw you unmute. Go ahead.
Yes, thanks, Ted. So I was reading through these various bylaws and so forth a couple of weeks ago when we met, and I can't find my notes, so I'm just going to try to remember what I was reading. But so I had some confusion about standalone, these ADUs being standalone homes, versus what was just mentioned and some public comment in the past relative to, there's a larger home with, presumably enough land to add, say, a 900 square foot ADU. It seems to be, to me, two different things, right? So are we talking, to you, Ted, as you understand it, are we talking about both circumstances, both an addition to an existing home or a standalone ADU?
So my understanding of the new state law is that we are not allowed to put restrictions on whether the ADU is attached or not attached. When I was first on Zach, the ADU had to be attached, had to have a door that went into the main dwelling, and had to have its own separate entrance. Well before the state changed the laws, we opened things up a little more to allow an unattached ADU. My understanding of the new state law is that we're not allowed to say one way or the other. They're both allowed by right.
I see. So, and so with that said, my only concern were language that was in the various proposed language that we were talking about changing it to. And as I recall, there's this by right, special permit, as you said, that you can get. I didn't have much objection to what I was reading. My only concern is circumventing normal approval processes for the permit. That was an issue that I wasn't clear on. And it seemed like in the process, and I don't have it right in front of me, but in the process of getting the permit for the ADU, I saw some contradiction, as I read through it. I wouldn't want to take a lot of time here to go over that. I'm just recommending that we carefully look at the permitting process and make sure that everybody is comfortable with the permitting of an ADU, both from a safety standpoint, fire hazard standpoint, setback issues, things of this nature that you would expect normally, if you were just adding to your home, for example.
Right.
That was my main concern. As far as the 900 square feet, I grew up in a 900 square foot home, a 950 square foot home right on the Newton Watertown line, in Watertown in Newton. So I know exactly what a 3-bedroom 950 square foot home looks like. And exactly. And small bedrooms, especially if you have 3 bedrooms, they're very small. And it was only 1 bathroom, and kitchens are very small. But it did have a separate dining room and a separate living room, so it is possible. And if you're familiar with Watertown, Newton, and so forth, there's thousands of ranches that were built in the 50s of that size. And as mentioned by Ron, things have changed. We're living in a different era right now. But those houses are sold and resold again, just as they are, because the lots are only 5,000 square feet. So, and they have high value because you're close to the Boston, so they're livable, but not necessarily. There's functional obsolescence.
Yeah. Nobody here has suggested this, but years ago, I think I'm the only person currently on Zach that was on the committee for the comment I'm about to mention. But when we were talking about ADUs 8 years ago, one of the people pushing for larger square footage used the term, I want for older folks to be able to live with dignity. And 800, at the time it was 800 square feet, does not allow a person to live with dignity. And I found that type of thinking deeply, deeply offensive. I don't think anyone in here is saying that it's too small to live with dignity. But that is stuck in my head for a long time. I think our town has changed. And I think that there are some in town who think that if you're less than much bigger than 800 square feet, it is undignified. It is something to look down your nose at. And I certainly don't feel that way at all. And to me, that's not by itself a reason to allow anything bigger. And maybe you're growing up, Steve, it may have been cozy for your family. I don't think you think it was undignified.
No, we didn't look at it that way at all.
Yeah. Other thoughts?
Yeah, I have a few thoughts or questions. I grew up, I'm older than a lot of the people here, probably everybody, but in the 50s, and that's the way houses were, about that size. And, you can live on it, and, building these huge houses is one reason why. I think they do it because the land is so expensive that the only way the developer can make money is by building a big, expensive house. But anyway, it seemed like in this draft, did I miss something, or is there nothing in it about short-term rentals?
So my understanding is in our bylaws, it's currently written, we don't have any regulation on short-term rentals of ADUs, which is why I said that might be a discussion we want to take up regardless of what we do with the by right size of an ADU. I would say for now, let's table the short-term rental discussion and deal with what the public asked us to look at, which is the size of it, and what Ron is encouraging us to look at as well.
All right, well, okay. I mean, it seems something that would belong in this particular bylaw, or if that's what the town wants, or we think would be best. But
I agree. I just think we ought to hold off on that discussion for now.
All right.
But like I said, of the 10 towns I looked at, only 2 of them do not have language about short-term rentals. So
yeah, well, maybe that's be up to our committee, I guess, to
Yeah.
what they want to do about that. But am I correct that under the present bylaw, it's the occupants are restricted to being family members? Or
I
am
don't believe that's correct anymore, and the state doesn't allow that. In fact,
currently?
neither the occupant of the primary home nor the accessory home need to be owners of the
I'm
property.
talking about presently, not the way the law.
No, that's the way it is now, as of February 2025. And we had to adopt, and I believe at town meeting, we adopted the change so that we conform to the state law. And the state law right now, as we sit here, says nobody has to be family. Nobody in either dwelling has to be even owner of the property anymore.
Okay, so we adopted a bylaw based on the change in the state law, and these regulations are based on the change in the state law.
Yes, I believe that to be true. Yes.
But we already acted in response to the state law.
Yes,
What
we
we're
are
talking about now is to just kind of tune it up a little bit more according to these regulations.
Yes. So the proposal was we have adopted the state law's maximum 900 feet, which upped us from 800 square feet, which was our old bylaw. And we've adopted all of the other, or gotten rid of all the other restrictions that we had to allow more freedom in creating and renting out, buying property and building another house, all of those things. We are now we conform to the state law.
Yeah, well, it seems like based on the change in the state law, I don't know if it's happened yet, but well, so if you own a single family house on a lot, under the state law, you can build this type of a building, which an ADU, up to 900 square feet, and theoretically we could make it bigger. You could just kind of be like a landlord and rent it out to somebody?
Assuming you're meeting setback requirements and other things like that, but yes.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed to me, I'm not sure, but it could be an incentive to people to really build these.
I think that was the whole point of
Yeah,
this.
I guess that's the idea. Yeah. I'm inclined to keep it at the 900, but 1,200 I think is too big. Maybe 1,000, but
Okay.
All right, that's.
Claudia, Matthew, you guys have been silent so far. Do you have anything to offer?
I was curious how many before we changed it to, well, actually originally before February were they all attached, or was that?
No, that had already been changed to
Okay.
allow separate.
So I'm curious, up until February, like what size were people making ADUs? And probably too soon to see a change, but have we seen any, like how close to the maximum do people tend to build these currently?
So that's a question I have too. I don't have an answer. My sense is we didn't have a whole lot of ADUs being built, that there were some in existence, and then there were restrictions about who could stay there. And if the owner of the property moved, the ADU was no longer allowed to be an ADU without reapplying. That's also been removed from restrictions. But my sense was not very many were being built. How many have been built since February, since we've added 900 feet? I have no idea. My sense is not many, but I watch a lot of the town meetings. I don't watch all of them, so I don't know. But I do think that maybe you're hinting at this, Matthew. I think Arnold did too. We've had the new dramatically less restrictive law for 10 months, or maybe since town meeting, maybe less in our town. It might be a little early to assess whether the less restrictive rules are doing what they're supposed to do or not, whether it's 800 feet or 900 feet. It seems to me maybe more important than the size is how little restriction there is to building them now. And I don't know if we've had enough time to assess whether it's working in Hopkinton or the rest of the state.
I will just add one point. While working with Wayland, and as well as since I'm here since last month, we did not receive that many inquiries to build the ADU. It's not like state adopted the bylaw and allowed that by right to build 900 square feet or 50% of the principal unit, but other sector like factors also are important: setback, zoning. If the homeowner do not have any enough space, they cannot do the ADU. They need to take care of the septic, if it's the septic, based upon water, sewer. So those aspects also matter, and that's one of the reasons people decide not to do ADUs, because to build the ADU, they need to upgrade a lot of stuff. They need enough land to build the ADUs.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. So Matthew, I cut you off before you were done.
No, I mean that's a part of my thought is what you said. My other question, like the thing that keeps coming through my mind is I listen to what Ron says, right? It makes sense if you've got 10 acres, like you might want to put a 1,200 square foot house somewhere, and it's not going to impact the look and feel of the area. Without any restrictions on short-term rentals, for instance, is just one concern. I'm trying to think of like what use cases are kind of like the pathological case here, where somebody fits as much as they can on a small lot, and what does that end up looking like? Where would that go? I don't that I can picture a 900 square foot house. I'm having trouble picturing like what that would look like in town and what sort of lots that would look like. Is there any restriction on how close? I mean, it could be attached, right? So there's no restriction on how close the ADU could be. It's just the setbacks from the property as if.
Yeah, I don't think so. Since it can be attached, I think it could also be 2 feet away or 20 feet or 200 feet. I think all of those are fine if the other setbacks are met.
And it is not like just, sorry to interrupt, it isn't just not like attached or detached. They can do above and in the basement too. So those.
So like a Wright-esque sort of hanging house on top of another.
I mean, it could just be the second floor as long as it has its own entrance as well. So you'd have to have some stairs going up to its own front door, if you will.
So you just build a house way up. What's the height limit? Yeah,
I'm not sure. I guess that is a way you could do it, though, is put a third floor on your house, and that could be an ADU. No.
And again, so you cannot do 30 feet. Again, you need to check the zoning and what is the maximum height allowed. Right. So if I'm not wrong, it's 35 feet. So that usually 2.5 story, if I'm not wrong. So if you have 1 story and if you are adding 1 above it and making it as an ADU, that's fine. But you cannot go above that. Or
we must have houses that are 3 stories, though, in town. We must.
We do.
So there must be some areas where it's more than 35 feet for a roof line. Anyway.
If I could just respond to Matt's comment about other uses, I mean, my own personal interest is on, I'm in a non-conforming lot in Hopkinton, but I can fit 1,000 square foot ADU in the back of my property that's going to be medically equipped to allow me to age in place. I mean, I've lived in Hopkinton since '89. I've lived in this house since 2000. I don't want to leave here, but because the taxes and the insurance costs are going up at such an astronomical rate, I can't, long term, I can't afford to live here, and I don't want to leave.
Right.
So moving to the back. But when we met with architects and started laying out this, I mean, when Steve was talking about growing up as a kid, I mean, I grew up in a family with 4 kids in a 2-bedroom, 800 square foot house, okay? But I didn't age there. I didn't have wheelchairs. I didn't have walkers. I didn't have all of the things that aging in place needs. And that's, it's very personal for me because I want to stay in town. It's a great town. I don't want to leave. But the cost of living that's escalating right now is going to force me out of town. And There's one other cohort that I think might be very interested in ADUs around town as a rental, and that's the divorced couples. So, they split up, they want to stay close. Well, if you've got a big enough property, build an ADU in the backyard, and one of you lives. I don't know. I mean, I think that there's
it all depends on the divorce, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Arnold, I certainly hear you, and I think you're not alone in being someone who wants to stay in town. And if we have a second house on a property, obviously the taxes will go up on that property, but they're not likely to double. So two different wage earners sharing the taxes obviously makes it more affordable. So I get all that completely. And hopefully, whether we make changes or not, because our rules are already less restrictive because of the state, hopefully we get some of those. And I did not take into account wheelchairs when I was thinking things through. But my first reaction is I think the designers of the senior housing in town did take that into account. And those are much, much smaller. My mother-in-law lives there, and it's a cozy place. But there are senior married couples that live in those places. And they make it work. I'm certainly not suggesting, nor are we allowed to reduce to 500 feet. But again, as I'm trying to wrap my head around what living space is, that's what I estimate those to be. Claudia, do you have any thoughts? And if you don't, that's fine. I don't want to put anybody on the spot. I just want to open opportunities.
I don't have any thoughts.
Okay. All right. Can I ask you, Aneri, because I think that you know much more about these things than I, and maybe Matthew with all your planning board experience. If I do not see, and maybe I just missed it, but if I don't see language about larger than 900 feet by special permit, does that mean it's not allowed at all? You can't ask for a special permit for larger than 900 feet?
So as per the current Hopkinton ADU bylaw, which town adopted in town meeting, did not mention that you can do larger ADUs, but if I'm not wrong, in the past, before this bylaw adopted, Hopkinton used to issue the larger ADU through special permit. And there are a couple of cases which I saw recently, and one is going right now in front of zoning board for a larger ADU currently. So I think you can do with a special permit, but
so that language doesn't need to be in the bylaw. It's just understood. You may always ask for something bigger.
Yeah, you can ask zoning officer and you can mention it. But as per this bylaw, it's not specified.
Okay. So can I ask the folks in front of me, what are your thoughts on larger, whether it's 1,200 or 1,000 by right versus special permit?
I would rather see it by special permit. And there's, like I started to say, and it was just brought up, it was one of the issues that I had about, septic systems. A great part of the town is on sewer. I happen to live in an area where I have a septic system. If I were to add 1,000, I have a fairly good sized house. I'm an empty nester with my wife, but my septic system would definitely have to be expanded, in order to accommodate an ADU. The other issue, the other concern I had, and I just found my notes, as I said, I had written down about the parking issue. All the sort of virtuous way things that were mentioned in terms of having these ADUs, and I agree with all of those comments, is one thing. But if somebody wants to build a 1,200 square foot unit and start using it as an Airbnb, what's your parking going to look like in your neighborhood when all of a sudden 2 or 3 cars shows up every once in a while, and parking lots are expanded, and things of that nature. I'm a little concerned about that. And there has been no discussion about parking. I believe there's a certain amount of parking. That's
I'm looking through the state law because I remember reading something about parking there, but I'm looking for it right now.
Yeah, I think it was a minimum of, I think there's a minimum, Ted, of one spot.
I think so too. And I think
I think
is.
it's a maximum, isn't it?
Or is it a maximum? I'm not
I
sure.
think so.
Not more than one off-street parking, so it's a maximum in our bylaw.
Not more than one. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you would need a special, I suppose, a special. Yeah.
Not more than one would be required.
That's where I was about to go.
Required. Yeah. Yeah.
So you're allowed to put in more parking, but we can't require more than one.
Right.
Okay, good. And I don't have to look for it anymore. That's what I was looking.
Yeah. So just to summarize, just think about that. Anecdotally, I just would hate to see a unit built for the purpose of, Airbnb, and all of a sudden there's 3 or 4 cars plus maybe 3 cars that the family already had. All of a sudden I got 6 cars sitting in the
Right.
house,
Right. I will propose. I'm not saying we close this discussion right now because I want to hear more about by right versus special permit. But I will propose, we're not going to finish this tonight, that we put it on the agenda for our next meeting and we make sure that we have some discussion of short-term rental. Because I do think we need to talk about that. And my sense is, looking at your bobbing heads, everyone agrees that that's probably something we need to put into the bylaw that we don't see right now. So let's put that off till next meeting, because I do think it needs to be discussed. I just don't want to sidetrack us right now. So other thoughts on special permit versus by right? Go ahead, Ron.
Just my own personal experience in going to the building department to ask for a greater than allowed by right square footage was that it had to be a variance rather than a special permit. And variances are held to a very strict, specific standard that makes it much more difficult to get than a special permit.
Aneri, can you help with that?
Yes, that is correct. And I can check with Chris, the building zoning enforcement officer. But if I'm not wrong, it needs to go through variance and also special permit by planning board if they want to do a bigger ADUs, because the current bylaw do not allow. In the past, it happened to be approved through special permit and Hopkinton allowed that. So if anybody wants to, like right now in today's time, more than 900 square feet, bigger ADU, they need a variance and special permit both.
They need both.
Mhm.
So if we looked at the bylaw and put language in about special permits, is that a way? I don't know enough about variances, and I'm not proposing this yet because I don't know enough.
Mhm.
But is that a way to allow a simpler process, but one that is more thought out and avoid the variance process? If we put in language about you must get a special permit for up to 1,200 square feet?
That I can take a look, because I need to see what was allowed, what was mentioned on the old ADU section of the zoning bylaw.
Okay.
If there is any, currently I do not have that in front of me, but
All
I
right.
can take a look.
That
if
would be
there's
helpful to me.
Yeah.
Because if we are exploring by right versus special permit, I believe everything Ron tells me. So I believe that you've had a headache with that. I'm not trying to create headaches for people, but if a special permit allows us to slow things down a little bit, to be thoughtful, to allow some protection for neighbors who might be alarmed, a trip to the ZBA is not necessarily that onerous, I don't think.
Yeah. Ted. Yeah, I think I'm actually on the Board of Appeals, but I don't have the answer. But I would think that if you're going to talk about a special permit for a larger size ADU, we would need to look at the other zoning bylaws about special permits and just put a sentence in this bylaw to say, well, if you want to get a larger one, you have to get a special permit. you might want to look at the part of the bylaw that talks about special permits to see if something else would have, you need more than just more than just that, because it could be you could do it that way, but you should look at the whole bylaw and look at whether you'd have where with the if it would fit in with the other part of the bylaw.
I agree with you, Arnold, and I think I'd lean on Aneri to help with that. Go ahead.
So
Aneri.
just go ahead, Matthew. Just wanted.
Sorry, yeah, I was just looking at 7103.2 under prohibited regulations, or 7103, and I guess this would be something for council to weigh in on, but like the unreasonable regulations, except as provided under 5 and 6, which are multiple ADUs, which are in here already, and then like floodplain or something like that. You wouldn't be required, you couldn't require a special permit, waiver, or variance or other zoning relief for the ADU. So I'd worry that saying certain things could be done under those. Somebody could argue that we're requiring a special permit or variance in some cases, and just say that.
I reread those sections several times, and I'm confused by the wording in a lot of them. My understanding was you can't allow requirement of special permit for 900 feet or smaller. That was my reading, that needs to be by right, which I think means you can allow bigger than 900 feet, and you can make up your own rules about what is allowed for bigger than 900 square feet. That was the way I read it, but there seemed to be a lot of double negatives going on in those sections. So
yeah, I know there's also a guidance that says that this wasn't intended to prohibit it from being less restrictive.
Right.
And I don't know how they interpret that from reading this myself. So maybe that, yeah, I mean, I think we just definitely, if we were trying to do certain things by special permit, we need somebody to try and interpret that all for us, maybe even at the state level verify.
And right. And my first stop would be Aneri. And then if we need our new town council to help us out, if we decide to go that way, we're making no decisions right now. But I think those would be the steps we take to make sure we're not running afoul of the Commonwealth. Go ahead, Aneri, please.
So I will just brief out special permit variance and ADU. Again, as per the state rule and the town adapter, you can do 900 square foot ADU by right, but you need to make sure, as I said, setbacks and everything, and we need to check if there is any overlay district or anything going on that particular parcel, which gonna affect the requirements, setbacks, and everything. And because of that, if it's triggering any other sector, they need a special permit. So for example, you want to do ADU, you already like non-conforming lot, you don't have enough setbacks on any side of your property, then you need a variance. So that's why I said like special permit and variance in that terms. And I think that's the thing Ron is trying to address. So location of your ADU, that matters, as well as the zoning. And
so Ron, maybe you can help me, and we're not trying to solve your problem, but you provide an example.
Yes.
When you talk about your lot, is 1,000-foot ADU not workable because of setbacks?
No, setbacks are perfect. Everything lines up for it.
So you have plenty of property to not impinge on neighbors or wetlands or anything like that.
Exactly.
Right.
And the only thing I wanted to change was the square footage, because I'm in a 1,500 square foot house.
Right.
So I'm maxed out at 750 square feet. And by the time you put all the medical stuff and all the rest of this stuff in there, it's very hard for my wife and I to envision leaving our house and moving in there for a nice aging in place experience.
Which then gets to the other thing we haven't discussed tonight, which is the 900 square feet or 50% of the primary house, whichever is smaller.
Right.
So we have not touched on that tonight. I'm looking at my watch. I wonder if we could give this topic at most 10 to 15 minutes more chat, and then we will just table it and pick it up again. So Ron now is providing a different thing to consider, which is that 50%, whichever is smaller. In Ron's case, just as an example, not because we're trying to, I don't want anyone in town, I don't want the Independent to say, oh my gosh, Zach is trying to fix Ron's issue. We're not. It just provides a discussion point. In Ron's case, the most he could go is 750 feet. Whether we change it to from 900 to 1,000 or 12, whatever, because of the 50% rule, he's stuck. So what are our thoughts on the or 50%, whichever is smaller? Before we go further, and this is not to shoot down Ron's hopes, it is still in our bylaw, this language. It is also the intent to assure that the single-family character of the neighborhood will be maintained, and this part I double underlined, the accessory unit remains subordinate to the principal living quarters. The way I read that is, it is clear that we don't have two equal size houses on the same property, is the way I read that. Matthew, you want to start?
Yeah, so it definitely helps to have a use case to talk about, straw man or Ron or whatever. So I guess first starting off, so he talked about in his example, he's trying to build something that's further back in his lot. I'm trying to, just for the sake of framing this, subdivision doesn't work in this case, because of access, because of, okay.
I'm a 33,000 square foot lot, and it's a 45,000 square foot zone. So I'm already non-conforming to begin with.
And if I may, I think, I don't know, if we subdivided, that would not necessarily fix the tax issue anyway. Right? Because then you have a whole separate lot where you're paying separate taxes.
Subdividing would not be possible based on frontage requirements in this zone.
But even if it were, I'm saying your tax burden wouldn't change all that much.
Would not change, correct.
Right.
So if we're trying to solve for people retiring and living in aging in place, it's not going to solve that problem, but it would address if somebody needed two equally sized houses for renting, for instance, they could subdivide. But in this case, that's not what we're solving.
And just from a Chamber of Commerce perspective, and that's my seat on this board, population density, as much as we hate it in the school districts because of all the building that's going on, population density helps the businesses and make it a thriving community. And it will provide us some economic diversity in town by allowing people into smaller units than are currently available. And I think diversity is a great thing.
I think helping people get around, either younger or older, to different parts of the town and having more businesses might help with that, just on that topic. But
Do you have thoughts then, Matthew, on the 50%, whichever is smaller? Again, not to solve Ron's question, but just it gives us something to think about.
Yeah, I understand the frame that he's coming from, and obviously, like anybody from the town who's got problems and giving us specific examples helps us kind of frame the general, build a general case from what are we trying to solve here. So this is helpful information. What's in my mind, right, is if we let to 100%, right, we come back to two equal property houses, like that doesn't work.
Right.
So I guess the question is, what are we looking at? Are we looking at increasing 50% somewhere? Is it just like figuring out where that threshold is? I think the original proposal during the open discussion during the second meeting was getting rid of it entirely, might have been proposed.
That was what was proposed, yeah. But also, frankly, I don't think he had fully thought out that part. It seemed to be kind of like, I think we should get rid of it. But it doesn't matter whether it's thought out. It gives us something to talk about. So
I think proportionality is appropriate. On the flip side, if I were an auto collector and wanted to build a 2,000 square foot garage in my backyard, I could do that right now, and it would dwarf my house, but it would fit within the setback requirements.
Or if you just wanted to throw a big party and have a dance floor.
Just don't sell tickets, because that's forbidden. Any other thoughts on the 50% piece of this discussion? Okay. So here then is what I propose. I say that we end this discussion for tonight. I think everyone has some thought homework. Go back and try to parse this ridiculously dense language again. And Neri, I guess you have a little bit of homework to help us think through what kind of language, if we did want to talk about special permit, but not further onerous burdens if you want to go above the current 900 square feet. If you could help us think through that a little bit and what would be required. And then, of course, next time we will talk about whether we want and what it should look like to restrict short-term rentals on ADUs. Does that sound good? Does everyone feel like we're good with that for tonight? Okay. With that, we don't have to have votes to close any agenda items. So let's go to our last. And I think for a lot of this one, Aniri is going to try to get us up to speed. And then it might be mostly a Q&A time right now before we propose solutions. Although when I talked to John Gelsich, he thought, at least as of July, that there might be some fairly quick fixes to the little bit of a jam we're in. But I'll let Aniri take over, if you're comfortable with that, Aniri.
Just a second. Okay. So let me just quickly share what we approved back in town hall during our fall special town meeting regarding MBTA. Can you see my screen?
I don't see anything on it yet.
Started.
It says you were sharing.
It went away.
Oh. Can you see it now?
No, do I have to?
It started, then went away.
Let me try again.
Is there anything I have to do to unshare, or?
I think you can see now.
I see Hopkins
Black
and Zoom 2 has started screen sharing, but I don't see any image beyond that. Now I do.
Oh, now I see it.
Okay, perfect.
See a map.
With some black splotches. Hopefully
It's a
it'll
window
clear
over.
up in a moment.
Those are the screen, the Zoom's panels.
Oh God. I don't know what is going on. Okay, I think you can see now. I'm seeing our MBTA map, which town adopted. The district map.
Yep.
Okay.
And now we
So
can see the inserts as well, although you just scrolled away from them, but yeah.
Okay. So I will just brief out back in the town meeting, special town meeting, town adopted the bylaw with this 3 district, Walcott Valley, downtown, and Preserve Subdistrict. We reached out to state, submitted our adopted bylaw, and state sent us a letter mentioning that we are meeting not 100% state requirements regarding MBTA. So they just gave us like partial compliance approval based on our MBTA zoning bylaw. We are meeting 2 of the condition as per them. One is like a land acre area required 50 acres. We, as per our bylaw, it's 54 acres, and we are meeting the multi-family unit capacity. As per the state, you need 750, and we have 782 at the moment. The only condition we are not meeting is the 50% of contiguous area, which we need to figure that out, and we have time till May 2026 to come up with the new option and adopt that bylaw and reach out to state regarding that. So there are 3 options as per my understanding. One, we can expand any other, like any current district. One is the preserve one. If we decide to expand this district, we need to add somewhere around 5 acres to this district. Oh, this is down, my bad. So somewhere around 10 to 15 acre near this area. And if we want to expand this district, then we need to come up with the 5 acres, somewhere around 5 acres. So we need like somewhere around 27 acres in one district to meet our 50% contiguous area requirement. And the other option, state recommend you can create a 4th district, establish that, and based upon current zoning and areas.
So I'm sorry, if we have a 4th district, none of them have to be 50%?
No, we need to meet, like we can create one more district here somewhere.
Oh, okay.
And
to add to it.
yeah.
Right, okay.
So I think let me see again. So as we can see the table, there are 3 options. So as I said, currently in preserve area district, we have 22.9. We can do plus minus 5 acres, add that and make it as a 50% contiguous area. We can do near downtown. I had a little discussion with John, and he was mentioning that board Zach discussed about some area near downtown district, which we need to come up with where we can add and where we cannot add the district, basically.
Okay, so I'm a history teacher, not a math teacher. And if the state tells us by adding, say, 10 acres to downtown and we're set, then great. But if we add 10 acres to downtown, that makes downtown 27.9. And by the math right now, we need 27.3 acres. So it would seem to solve the issue. But if we add 10 acres, our total acreage goes up to 64.6 acres. And 50% of 64 is 32. So going to 27 downtown still doesn't give us one area that's 50%. Am I right? We would have to add acreage to one and remove the same acreage from another one to keep it 54 acres so that what we got to get is 27.3.
So you can increase the acres, but you cannot go below 50 acres.
Right. But
So-
if we increase the total acreage, then 50% becomes a bigger acreage as well. Ron, you nodded. Am I thinking this through
Yeah.
correctly? If we were to add 10 acres downtown, then our total zoned acreage would be 64.6 acres.
We need to add about 10.9 acres to downtown.
Okay, but just call it 10 to make the math easy. My point is, then we need a district that is,
Sorry, 20.9 acres to downtown.
and then that takes in what I'm saying, where
Yes, because it's 22.9 plus 14.8. That's 37.7 is the acreage of the other two. So you need to get downtown to be over that.
Okay, that's another way to do the math. Great. So, right, 10 acres, the point is 10 acres doesn't do it because we're increasing our total acreage, so we're making it harder to get to the 50%. If our total acreage stays at 54.6, then we need 27.3 in one of them. But if we add acres to any of the zones, we're adding to the total acreage, which means 50% is bigger than 27.3. But I'm a history teacher.
So Ted, if we came up with a totally new area, does that calculus that you just did, does that affect the other 3 areas? In other words, if we added whatever acreage we needed by whatever means, I have an idea that's pretty controversial, but I'll hold off on that. But my question is, if we, because I think you mentioned earlier, one of the options is just to create another zone.
No, I asked if that was an option. I understood Aniri to say that we could create a fourth zone. What she was
About
actually
50% will
add more to one of the zones.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Kawaja?
The 50% will come into play also if you add another.
It will still come into play.
Right, you still need to have
Yeah.
one zone be 50%.
I see. Okay.
So the two
Even if
most
you add
straightforward
another
things,
zone.
the two most straightforward things is there's a restaurant across from the preserves, which would bring it up to 39.7 acres.
And that gets us back to our first time voting on this whole thing.
The other options, like Walcott and downtown, are pretty close to each other. If those were to be connected, we're back to two zones.
Yep. And that could also solve it. The map, could you show us the map again, please, Aniri? And zoom in on the downtown and Walcott.
Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
It came and went away again.
Okay. Share. Now?
No.
I'm sorry, I don't know what is going on.
Well, while you're trying, the map that's in our packet is just so small, and it's, for me, impossible to see how many properties separate Walcott from downtown. But you're right, Matthew. If we join those two, then we easily clear the bar.
Yeah, I mean, there's about a block and a half, more or less, along 85 that connects them, and then there's
What's involved in making a zone? I mean,
town has to vote on it.
Planning board has to put it before town, and then the town has to vote on it. What's along Walcott Street there, Matthew? Maybe you have a better map than I have in front of me.
I'm sorry, something is wrong. I cannot share my
okay.
screen.
You've got, is that the same map I have?
Yeah, same map. Hughes ArcGIS might be easier to navigate, but
All right, let me see. What time is it? Are we still okay on time? We are. Let me see if I can pull up the town's planning map and share my screen.
yeah, I just zoomed into the PDF quite a bit.
Kentonma.gov.
I also shared through email, but I don't know why I'm not able to share my screen again.
I don't know. My computer's not going up. Oh, it's because I didn't spell it right. Hopkins.gov.
No.
Now it seems to be not loading. Well, I can't seem to get the town website up. Try one more time. There it is. Where's search? How do I feedback?
What's going on?
This is the exciting part of the meeting right now.
I just shared the screen and
Oh,
now
did you?
I can now.
Oh, it didn't work.
Does that help at all? I don't know if it's any better.
Why can't I find what I found so quickly other times? Why can't I find it? Our town website ought to have a little search feature. I don't see one. All right, let's try this. Public safety, town manager, select board, land use, planning. If I go here, can I get a map? Where's the map? Oh my gosh.
Ted, can you open, I mean, you can ask me to share screen through your email and then you can open the document I shared.
Oh,
I don't, that
all
you
right.
can
Let me
do.
look at my email.
Yep.
And then let me see if I can see what you sent me. Is this the document that I'm looking at? The one with the map?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the one
okay.
we approved.
Oh. When did you send that? Do you remember? Just so I can go to the date?
Let me tell you.
October 23rd, maybe?
You can find in that one too. Or November, I mean, last week.
Or last week's. All right.
November 19th.
All right. I am so sorry, guys. We really, this is not what any of us signed up for right now.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know.
Okay, here's November 19th. Here's a bunch of attachments. There is a map.
Yep.
All right, now let me see if my sharing helps us at all. Share. Guys, see that?
There it
Yeah.
is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, can I zoom in anymore is my question.
Yes.
Yeah, what's
You-
your, there
There.
you go.
There you
Yeah.
go.
That seems to be the most I can zoom in. But we've got, I believe, can you see my cursor?
Yep.
Mhm.
I believe that's Walcott Street.
Yes.
So if we could zoom in more, we could see maybe what those properties are. But if we developed a link here, then our problems clearly would be solved. If we only wanted to expand downtown, say this way, which Ron, you'll remember we talked about doing before, the police station, the fire station. But if we did that, 10 acres wouldn't be enough, if my understanding of math is correct. We add, it sounded like 20 acres if we wanted to go this way. And maybe that's doable if we, I think the fire station might already be in the purple. I know we talked about the fire station being zoned, but the police station is not. But we'd have to add 20 acres if we wanted to go this way, or we could see what connected these and that would solve everything. Or, as Matthew points out, we could add the restaurant. But we've already experienced that at town meeting, and that might not be worth bringing up again. There was a plan once that included that and solved everything beautifully, but that failed. So maybe until we can get a closer look at this, and I don't want to waste more time trying to find the more detailed zoning map, maybe the thing to look at for next time is what would it mean to look at these, again, I'm kind of using my cursor, to figure out what these properties are, what the neighbors would think, etc. Thinking out loud, if you connected by just a couple properties, I don't think that necessarily lends itself to rapid development of those properties, but it does make one contiguous lot, I would think, which would then satisfy our need because we have a little purple strand connecting those bigger purple blots. But maybe that's what we talk about next time. I would say, as much as I thought the restaurant up here was a great idea once upon a time, that's a can of worms I'm not ready to open again. It's been shot down twice, and I don't think we ought to bring it up again. It seems to me the answer is down here. Whether it's building this bridge or expanding the downtown to the east and or the west. But if we did that, we would have to zone more property than if we just connected these two. That's my assessment of the situation. Does anyone else have thoughts or other things to explore between now and our next meeting?
Can you just zoom up, I believe up, Ted, to the other area? So this is where the train, down by where the train station is?
So the train
Yeah, the
station
train
in
symbol is the
Southborough
piece.
is right there.
Okay,
This is the preserve, the condominium development.
right,
Right across is the entrance to Hopkinton State Park.
okay,
This blue circle is a half mile within the train station. Because we are MBTA adjacent, we don't have to follow rules that the zones be within a half mile. But when we put together our map, the first and the second time in ZAC, and then it seemed the planning board agreed, we liked the spirit of that part of the law to encourage use of public transit. And it seemed to be an area of high density housing already anyway. So if by some chance somebody decided to buy that land and the people were willing to sell, it wouldn't change as dramatically the makeup of that section. So that's how this got included. Once upon a time, Carboni's here across the street was in the plan,
right.
and that got rejected at town meeting and then got rejected, I guess, in the planning board process, not at town meeting when we proposed that again.
And is there conservation land down in that area?
Well, there's state land out here, and we're
Right.
not allowed to zone state land.
Right,
In here, there was a restriction. There was a little strip of land somewhere in here that made property over here not developable. But
okay,
some on ZAC, and I was certainly one of those voices, was not a fan of zoning woods because it's, in my opinion, worthwhile to protect trees. And we were also trying to find places that weren't immediately developable and mouth-watering to developers. And buying land with trees is much more mouth-watering than having to buy out homeowners on some other land.
but Ted, in that case, and we discussed this with John, where I asked the questions back, back when, the developer would kind of be discouraged from that land because they have to bear the infrastructure to get into it.
That was true of all of this down here.
Right.
But this particular bit of wooded stuff also had a strip in front of it that made it unusable.
I
Of, I
see.
think state-owned land.
I see.
But for all of this, there's not water supply. It's all on wells. And for some of us, we thought that that would be a disincentive for developing the Carboni's land. But then at town meeting, some other people pretty loudly voiced disagreement with that.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks.
All right. Anything else on this then? I don't see everyone on the screen anymore. So if you've got a thought, speak up. Okay. So here then I think are our marching orders for our next meeting. And our next meeting is when, Aniri? I don't have it in front of me.
8th.
So,
Number 8,
and that is Wednesday?
Monday again.
Monday. So a week from
2 weeks from
2
today.
weeks from tonight.
Mhm.
2 weeks from tonight. If you know anyone else on the zoning advisory committee who we haven't seen, give them a nudge. Hopefully we can see them. But 2 weeks from tonight, we will continue ADUs. Hopefully Aniri can give us a little more information about language around special permitting that wouldn't be too onerous, but that also obviously doesn't violate the state laws. We will talk about short-term rentals with ADUs. We will explore a little more that 50% rule. And then we will take this up and hopefully have a map where we can zoom in a little bit better. I do encourage everyone to take a field trip downtown. Take a look at Walcott Street, go for a walk, maybe stop and get a little yogurt or pizza, maybe Snappy Dogs while they're still open. But if you don't go downtown much, take a look at the area down there so that you have some familiarity and not just a map with color blotches on it. Sound good?
Do you want to schedule a site walk starting from Muffin House, Ted?
Only if Steve will be there to help defray the costs.
That's a lot of calories. That's a long walk. Very long walk. 2 pound muffin.
All right. So if everyone's good with that, I would love to get a motion to adjourn.
Before we do that, Ted,
Oh, sure.
I was just wondering, I was asked from the affordable housing to talk about that payment in lieu thing at some point, maybe in the next meeting, or we are open to having a joint meeting if that's permitted and that helps.
Okay, let me write a note to talk to Aneri about that, whether we think it can fit on an agenda reasonably or whether we need to push it off a little further, or maybe just have you represent. Maybe you have some answers to some of the questions we had before.
Yeah.
So I'll talk to Aneri offline and we'll see if we can put it on the next agenda or not.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Anything else before a motion to adjourn? All right, then anyone with a motion in a second, I'd love to hear it.
So moved.
Second.
So,
There we go. Let me stop sharing my screen so I can see all of y'all. And let's have a roll call vote. Matthew,
yes.
Kwaja,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
and Ted Barker Oak is also a yes. It's unanimous. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming. I'm glad we finally got a Zach meeting to go.
Okay.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Keep the momentum rolling 2 weeks from now.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you.